Hi guys, now this isn't one of my normal videos. For those of you who are subscribed to my channel and who are kind of used to my channel, you'd know that my last few uploads have been voter education videos. I talked about some of our presidential candidates, President Muhammadu Buhari, Fela Durotoye, and Donald Duke. And this video is kind of in line with that. It will be very short, so there's no need for you to run away. I plan to do this video in less than 4 minutes. I'm actually timing myself, so I think I have 3.5 minutes to go. Now, I've been researching some of the presidential candidates for Nigeria's elections for next year, 2019, and currently I'm researching Professor Kingsley Moghalu and Chike Ukaegbu. Those are the next videos I'll be releasing. And while researching Professor Moghalu in particular, I realized several things, and it's those things that made me want to do this video. Professor Moghalu is a very intelligent man. He is well read, he is very experienced, and he just seems like probably the best of the bunch from what I've seen thus far. I didn't know about him until I started doing this research. Very intelligent man. His career has predominantly been in the UN. He was in the United Nations from about 1992 to about 2007. From 2008 till about 2014, I think, he was the Deputy Central Bank Governor here in Nigeria. He's an incredibly intelligent man, very articulate. And I've been researching him, like I said, because I'm going to do a video on him. But what I've discovered while researching him is 3 very unique things and advantages that he has over the other candidates who will be vying for the office of president next year. The first advantage that Professor Moghalu has is that he's been in government. He worked as the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, so he's been in the political class and he's familiar with that terrain to a good extent. That's an advantage that very few of the other presidential candidates will have. And you can argue if it's an advantage or a disadvantage having been, a member of the past government. But I think it's more a strength than a weakness because you're familiar with the terrain, you're familiar with politicking and how politicians behave, and he'll know how to handle them. So that's the first advantage, the fact that he's been in government in the past. The second advantage that he has, as I check my time. Now, the second advantage that Professor Moghalu has is his worldview and his international experience. Like I said earlier, he worked in the UN, and during his time there, he worked in New York, in Tanzania, Switzerland, and Rwanda, amongst other countries. He lived and worked in these places on developmental projects for the United Nations. He was a United Nations official. So he has a worldview, and I think in the world today, especially in Nigeria and the position Nigeria holds in the League of Nations, we really do need a leader with a worldview and who knows how to position Nigeria amongst the League of Nations and how to also relate with other nations. And I think Professor Moghalu will do this very well. I think he's the only candidate with the most international exposure in terms of work and essentially living abroad and knowing what he can replicate from other economies in Nigeria's economy to make it work. The third advantage that Professor Moghalu has that I observed while researching him is the fact that his entire career is based on administration, development, and policy. His time, if you read up on him, and I think you should, his time in the United Nations was essentially about developing other communities and societies and economies, helping them function better and get on their feet. Not just him essentially, but with his team and other functionaries and departments and units within the United Nations. So he has a developmental background and an academic background as well, because he's a professor in a university in Massachusetts. So these are the 3 key advantages, unique advantages that I think Professor Moghalu brings to bear and that stands him out amongst all the other presidential candidates that will come out, when we go to the polls in 2019. I'm very impressed with him, impressed enough to come and do a video to talk about him. And I think you guys should check him out, especially for those of you who are not yet decided about who to vote for. I think you should consider him, research him. There are loads of videos on him and his interviews on YouTube. He's very articulate. He's a great communicator. If I were to recommend a video of his on YouTube, there's the On the Couch interview he had with Falz and Layla. That's about 36 minutes. So you can check that out. That's the video that I recommend if you watched only one of the videos on YouTube. If you can't do that, then I think you can do 10 minutes by reading his Wikipedia page, which will give you a lot of insights about the kind of person he is and the kind of work he's done. He is so accomplished, so well read, and so intelligent. And I think he'd be fantastic, as the president of Nigeria. Of all the nominees I've researched and seen thus far, I think Professor Moghalu is going to have my vote. I mean, it's still early. It's very early in the game. The elections are still several months away and anything could happen. But from what I've seen, I will not be surprised if I'll be voting for him and his party, the YPP. So if you're yet to decide on who you want to vote for, and if you want to vote for a technocrat and somebody who is very different from the crop of politicians we've seen thus far, who are pretty much very self-serving and don't have Nigeria's interests at heart and who don't really have a vision for the country or a plan on how to execute that vision, then I really encourage you to check out Professor Moghalu. At least read up on him. I'm not saying you should vote for him or decide to vote for him. There's still lots of time for you to make that decision. But please read up on him, watch some of his videos, get to know who he is, because I just learned about who he is recently, and I'm sure there are many other Nigerians who don't know about him, and that's why I'm doing this video. So just check him out. He's really worth it. He's worth your time, and I think he would be fantastic, to be honest, as Nigeria's next president. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel as well. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.